This is Wristrands, and I welcome you to the channel with a midlife confession. I think I'm going overly crazy over a bunch of Japanese beauties. They're just unpretentious, certainly charming, surprisingly tough, and not in any way short of experience, or should I say, brand distinction. They just seem to have all the right stuff, but ultimately, all can be had at a bargain. Indeed, resisting the urge to chase one cutie after another can prove to be irresistible. Why all the guilt then? Well, it's not a rare watch by any means, but I've never had a copy of this watch until late last year. Adding more to the guilt was the truth that it was an offhand purchase, being the most economical way to scratch off the itch that we collectors get every now and then. That coming from a kid who grew up in the 80s is a bit of a shame, right? Let me explain. I've just always seen plastic watches like this one being more like disposable toys meant for kids. In fact, I had my 6-year-old boy try one on, but he too passed upon it for something more appealing, and back then I couldn't have agreed more. Why the change of heart then? You see, since I fell into the hobby of watch collecting, I had spent almost all my free hours either scrolling through wrist shots on Instagram or binging on review videos here on YouTube. It didn't take long for me to learn that watch fans, while having particular preferences, clashing tastes, and different spending capacities, can share unified opinions towards specific pieces. So I'm kicking off this channel with a very good example of that case, the Casio F-91, a well-rounded Japanese icon with mass appeal and pricing. Though currently available in a variety of options, this classic is still for me the one to get, or at least to start one's collection with. Yes, the combination of red, blue, and gold printing can get a bit overwhelming, especially in bold, and then crammed into the face of a very tiny watch. Yet, it's exactly that, the quirky design that screams 1990s Casio more than any other. But the one we'll be unboxing here today is the F91WM-7A. I went for this particularly because of the versatility that comes with that more understated color scheme. I just have those days when I wish I didn't have those blue accents on my wrist. At the time of recording, this can be had for about $25 from the Casio store on Amazon. I got mine from a local online source for around $16, so I encourage you to look around for better deals. Now onto the watch. But first, here's a handy test. You'll have to press that pusher on the right and hold it down for about 3 seconds. Yep, that Casio readout on the LCD simply means that this is legit. It may be hard to believe that fake copies of a $10 watch are being sold, but that is the reality. The Casio F-91W module is housed inside the resin case, in this variant painted more like powder silver. I'm sure that these painted surfaces would show more noticeable wear from regular use compared to the bare resin finish in the black ones. So that may be a point to consider if you're torn between certain models. I believe a piece of acrylic crystal protects the dial from the front. While being more shatter resistant, this window will also be easier to scratch with daily wear. These cheap watches are meant to be the beaters in anyone's collection, but I totally get it. Scratches can accumulate to the extent of compromising legibility, and there's just some of us who like maintaining our watches regardless of price in pristine condition. Well, the good news is, screen protectors specifically designed for the F91 can easily be had for $1 or $2. Also, it shouldn't take more than a few minutes and a tiny dab of polywatch to restore most acrylic crystals to out-of-the-box clarity. At least all the text on the dial is printed on a faceplate underneath the crystals, so buffing them off together with any scratches is just unlikely to happen. The stainless steel caseback is held in place by 4 standard screws, saving us all the rare trip to the service shop for a battery change. It takes a single CR2016L, which currently costs less than $1. Well, you'd most likely forget what that is, or if they'll even be around after 7 or more years, which is the watch's claimed battery life. The watch measures 34mm across and 38mm from lug to lug. It has a thickness of 8.5mm, making it perfectly proportional to the overall case dimensions. It is a tiny watch, and for some, the wrist presence and wearing experience may at first feel really awkward. The strap is also made of resin with a signed plastic buckle, and is attached to the case via 18mm lugs but flaring out significantly for seamless integration with the rest of the case. Being thinner than standard straps on most G-Shocks, this certainly feels lighter and less restricting on the wrist. I have 6¼ inch wrist for reference and can only speak here for guys with relatively smaller wrists like mine. I'm used to wearing my watches high above the wrist bone, and this, without surprise, sits totally flat without any of the top and bottom edges extending past the arm. And weighing in at just a pinch over 20 grams, you'll quickly forget having anything on. This is simply the best wearing watch I've had so far. So perfect, in fact, that I've sold off all the bigger watches in my young collection and am in the process of rebuilding one with watches that offer a wearing experience similar to what this F91 has spoiled me with. While we're at it, I would appreciate if you could comment any suggestions for an affordable diver, preferably with vintage design and proportions. I don't think I like how this looks on an 18mm strap due to the absence of traditional lugs, but I do see a lot of tasteful F91 and NATO strap pairings online. If I had to discourage you from changing the straps as frequently as most of us would like, it would have to be for the following reason. Those pieces that hold the strap in place are designed more like pushpins, locking onto the resin case via tight notches rather than typical spring bars. Wearing out those notches, I believe, would be inevitable after several strap changes. The space between the pins and the case at the lug opening is also too tight, eliminating any possibility of just having them in place and simply sliding your NATOs in and out of the watch. It's however good to know that standard 18mm straps are an option just in case the supplied ones wear out, which has proven to be the case with most Casios. While the argument for simply buying a new F91 instead of spending on a strap change might be valid given the price of these watches, saving some change or keeping a watch with some degree of sentimental value might still be the preferred option for some. This cheap watch is beyond the toy as the looks may suggest. I've never used my F91 beyond the time screen, to be honest, but it is a handy stopwatch and has alarm settings that are fairly audible. All these functions are accessible via stainless steel buttons mounted onto the sides of the case. I've decided to go through those features in a separate video so as not to bore those who intend to use the watch exactly as I do. The watch claims a 30-meter water resistance, which by ISO standards translates to being suitable for everyday use but not for showering, bathing, swimming, or snorkeling. I wear mine to the gym every day and I've recently taken it to the pool without any issues. I'm not encouraging you to do the same, but I'm pretty sure many of us would wear our F91s with less caution. You might all be guessing by now that my thoughts on the watch I once looked down on for being cheap and plastic have totally changed, but they have actually not. I still see it as a cheap plastic watch, or resin to be more precise, for it is in reality cheap and is made out of plastic without ever pretending to be more than that. I know it would be unreasonable to ask for a more premium material at this price point, but I'm sure there are a lot out there who would willingly spend a bit more on an option featuring the very same movement, housed in a stainless steel case or even titanium to keep the weight down. Sure, there are more upmarket looking watches similar to the F91 in Casio's catalog, but that's about it. The chrome-plated resin cases on some models can just be as shiny as steel, but never share the same robustness that may be the actual reason for our wanted upgrade. Casio may have directly addressed this concern with the release of the A1000 models, and to be honest, I badly want one. Specifically, the one made in collaboration with the fashion brand Rag & Bone. Sadly though, the prices on those are just beyond practical for me, making me look in a totally different direction, particularly into the direction of Armitron. I recently got a Rubik in for review, by the way, and links to that video should appear somewhere on the screen. But as it is, the unusable backlight is for me the F91's only shortcoming, which a few may dismiss given the watch's ridiculously low price. But if a Chinese knockoff costing a quarter of that price can spoil us with a better if not the perfect solution, then I don't think Casio has any excuse. Aside from that, I simply love this watch. Well, who wouldn't? This humble watch is a properly working chronometer that doesn't fall short on durability and brand equity, selling at a price that just begs to be tried. While its design may not be to everyone's taste, I think that the current F91 being so true to the 1989 release is proving a very strong point, along with the fact that Casio has been selling millions, if not billions, of these watches every year since then. While the Casio F-91's mass pricing is surely a major factor for its appeal, as a watch enthusiast, I see more benefits there beyond the bargain. For one, it is the cheapest piece of retro you can put on your wrist with a history to back it up, and secondly, it could be the most practical and fun way of dabbling into the world of smaller watches without having to look into the vintage market. As I admit belonging to the less young group of fanatics giving into this following based on nostalgia, I can also see the younger generation sporting one of these on the wrist as an expression of style and identity. And that for me makes the Casio F-91 a true Japanese idol that won't be retiring any day soon. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I would also love if you can express any of your thoughts in the comment section below.